Welcome to this edition of the Boon of Wireless Podcast, coming to you as always high above the streets of northern New Jersey at ANJ Media. Yes, New Jersey, where laws are still in our books stating that you cannot buy a car on Sunday, you cannot slurp your soup in a restaurant, and automobiles cannot pass horse-drawn carriages on the street. New Jersey. I'm your host, Jon Horovitz, founder of Atrium Unlimited Consulting. So we had a hiatus. We are back after taking some time off for business travel and other events, but it's good to be back here in the hot seat. And today we welcome back Adam Wolf, president of the National Wireless Independent Dealer Association, or NWIDA, the only trade and advocacy group representing the independent dealers here in the United States. Adam first appeared on the podcast on February 22nd, and I invited him to come back in 3 months, which is now, to update our listeners on what we discussed and new items that have happened since then, such as the Mint Plum Ultra Mobile acquisition by T-Mobile that closed, Leica Mobile's ongoing feud with T-Mobile, and how T-Mobile's announcement of purchasing most of US Cellular sometime in 2025 is hitting the headlines right now. Adam has never been shy or outspoken in his support for the independent wireless dealers, and today's episode aims to get his views and opinions. Full disclosure, my company serves many clients who do business with all three of our major carriers, and as always, the opinions expressed today by our guest or any guests are their own. So, buckle up and join me in welcoming back to the program, Mr. Adam Wolf. Adam.
Jon.
It's a pleasure to see you again. Welcome back to our little hovel here.
Thank you. And let me give you a New Jersey fun fact.
Go ahead.
Do you know that the first baseball game was played in Hoboken, New Jersey? And I'm not exactly sure when we're airing this, but I think I will either be on my way to or coming back from London to see my beloved New York Mets play your beloved Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, there you go. And if you remember a few podcasts back, we talked about the first baseball game being in Hoboken, and I took a slight jab at your New York Mets, who have a very high payroll.
The
and
way they're playing,
yes.
you should.
Well, and again, I am from Philadelphia area. I am a huge Philadelphia sports fan. This team that you just referenced is having a record start, but you know,
I'm hoping they get a major case of jet lag.
Oh, well, good. Anyway, so let's get into the podcast.
Sure.
And talk about a lot of what we talked about. Give a quick recap again to our listeners who may have missed you back on February 22nd. Tell us, what is NWIDA and what is the purpose of your organization?
Sure. Well, first of all, I suggest everybody go back, watch episode 3 of the Boon of Wireless. I think it's your best podcast episode to date.
The jury's out, but go ahead.
But NWIDA is the National Wireless Independent Dealer Association. As you mentioned, we're the only trade and advocacy association for the independently owned wireless shop. Okay. Whether they do repairs, whether they do sales, whether they are a kiosk in a mall, or they own 1,500 stores. We like to say we're brand agnostic. I don't care what the sign on the front of your store says. It could say Verizon or T-Mobile or Tony's Cell Phone Hut. If it's an independently owned business, they're eligible to join, and we can save them upwards of $15,000 a year on products and services that they're probably already using and buying to run a wireless business.
And it's fairly economical to join.
Right? Yeah, it's a couple of $100 a year.
Okay.
Depending on how many stores you own, but it's well below the $15,000 in savings that you'll get.
Last time we talked extensively about why dealers, as you mentioned, and again, not, you said whatever name is on the door, but not Best Buy or Walmart or Target.
Not big box, for sure.
You talked about why dealers and the benefits and the advocacy that you do. Let's talk about the MVNO space. Why should an MVNO join NWIDA?
MVNOs most definitely should join NWIDA. We have, I think, 5 or 6 of them. H2O is a member. Ultra is a member. I always Moby out in Hawaii, but there are about 5 or 6 MVNOs. And anybody who wants to support the dealer channel, which especially when you're an MVNO, there are very, very few, if any, MVNO-owned stores. I guess Consumer Cellular opened a few.
Right.
But that's absolutely the exception, not the rule. Most of them distribute through a dealer network, an indirect channel network. So if they're looking to support those guys, if they're looking to grow their dealer network, we can help market and get their message out to the dealer base.
Okay.
So absolutely, MVNOs should join NWIDA.
So MVNOs, Metro PCS was an MVNO. Now Metro by T-Mobile is owned by T-Mobile.
Well, Metro PCS with a carrier, and then an MVNO, and
Right.
then
Okay. TracFone.
Yep.
Now
owned by Verizon. Yep.
And I think one of the ones that we
Cricket's
love,
AT&T.
Cricket AT&T, Boost Mobile was an MVNO, owned by Sprint,
Yep.
owned by T-Mobile
Yep.
for a nanosecond, and now owned by Dish. So are they still?
But I don't think, and Charlie, if you're watching, feel free to correct me. I don't think they're an MVNO anymore. I think it's their prepaid brand.
Correct. That's a big chunk of the MVNO business or former MVNO business. But you've got newcomers that we've spoke to before. We've had Peter Adderton on from Mobile X. I personally know of about 20 MVNOs that will be launching within the next 6 months. And so the MVNO business, as we talk about, as we write about, the MVNO business is booming right now because it's so easy, still expensive, still a lot of work, but it's becoming much easier for an entrepreneur to get into the business. So,
well, John, as you and I kind of joke all the time, there are 170 active MVNOs in the U.S. The joke is that only about 15 of them make any kind of money at all. And when one goes out of business, within 3 to 4 weeks, as you mentioned, somebody else launches. So that 170 is always kind of constant. And as I've mentioned to you many, many times before, an MVNO needs two things. Differentiator and a distribution strategy.
So I'm an MVNO, a pure MVNO, whether I'm direct with one of the three carriers or I go through one of their aggregators. What benefits do I, as the MVNO operator, see by joining your organization?
So there's a list. We do have a very specific MVNO membership, and there's a list of benefits that they get. They get discounts on competitive analysis reports done by one of our partner companies, Wave 7 Research. They get discounts on sales training done by another one of our partners, Corporate Dynamics. And like I said, they get access if they're looking to grow that distribution channel. We can get their message out. We have an extensive database of dealers, many of which are always looking for new revenue sources. So if an MVNO is looking to add dealers to their distribution, we can get their message out.
So let's change gears a little bit, Adam. We've always said that the only thing constant in the wireless telecommunication industry is change. Change. So things are constantly changing, and we're going to touch on a few things that are on the horizon right now that have major change and impacts to the wireless space. What's new at NWIDA?
So we're always looking to increase the value of our membership for our retail members, for our stores. We've signed 4 new, what we call vendor partners recently, 2 of which provide new revenue streams for dealers. So dealers now have the ability to purchase smart watches and smartphones that are aimed at children. Anywhere literally from 4 and up. And they can sell this either as a grab and go, just put it on the shelf, ring it up and make a commission, or they can activate those devices in store, charge an activation fee, and there's another new revenue stream. So we're always trying to either save the dealers money on products and services that they need to run their shop, or offer them new revenue streams in order to get that bottom line up.
A lot of changes going on with mergers and acquisitions as well. Which is another constant in our business. We've both been through 2 or 3 of them, and
always fun.
Always fun if you are the acquirer.
Yes.
Okay. I've been on the acquiree side too many times.
It's not as fun.
In the news, it seems like our good friends at T-Mobile are dominating the headlines. Good or bad, I'm not going to judge.
Spending that money.
Yeah, they're spending that money. First of all, their purchase of the parent company of Ultra, Mint, and Plum closed a month ago. There's a ongoing lawsuit between them and Leica Mobile. Leica feels they're not being treated fairly or as are
Even equally.
or equally. That's what I was going to say when put up against the other MVNOs. And then the big news at the end of May was that T-Mobile has purchased most of US Cellular, the quote-unquote fourth carrier, and not all of their spectrum and towers, but 4 million customers, $4.4 billion.
I was going to say they bought $4.4 billion worth of them.
Yes. So, you've always, as I said in our introduction, have not been shy about what's good for the independent dealer, and you've spoken with attorney generals and you've spoken with the press, as have others, with your views on how this helps or hurts the small independent dealer and even the bigger dealer with 100, 200 stores. Yeah. So what is NWIDA's position on all of this?
Well, I'll give you NWIDA's position and some kind of unofficial statements.
Go ahead. Well, well, they're unofficial. Our entire audience is going to see it or hear it. Go ahead.
It's just my opinion. I've been doing this way too long.
Right.
So I've spoken to T-Mobile. I've spoken to people at Ultra.
Okay.
Of those three companies, those three divisions of the parent company that they bought,
right.
We're probably most concerned with the Ultra part.
Okay.
Plum is an MVNO enabler.
Aggregator.
And Mint does 99% of their sales online.
Right.
So we're very concerned about the Ultra dealers, obviously. We have been told by people at Ultra and at T-Mobile that for now, it's business as usual. Okay. They are going to let them be an independent brand. Ultra got some benefits almost immediately.
Right.
They got some data priority. They got some roaming availability. They are able to do some nice things for the dealers. They've upped the data allowance on dealer rate plans. Okay. So if you're an Ultra dealer and you qualify to get a dealer rate plan, you now get more.
Okay.
All great stuff. My unofficial take is similar to when Verizon bought TracFone, and TracFone came along with 10 brands.
Right, and 20 million subscribers. Yeah.
Verizon didn't want to manage 10 brands, right. And they've started to already call them.
Right.
That's been done. T-Mobile now has, I think, 4 or 5 prepaid brands, right. Metro, T-Mobile prepaid, and now Ultra and Mint. Right. My feeling is they don't want to manage 5 different prepaid brands, just like Verizon didn't want to mention 10 brands. So what's the long-term outlook for Ultra? Don't know. Don't know if they know. Are they going to convert them to another brand? Are they going to spin them off somehow? I don't know. But again, our main concern is the dealers. We are staying in contact with people who we've known for years at T-Mobile, senior level people at Ultra, senior level people, and we are very closely monitoring the situation over there. Okay. But for now, it's business as usual and life is good.
Well, based on history and experience, how long do you think for now it's going to last? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but...
So the one thing that is a positive, unlike the Verizon TracFone acquisition, is that Ultra was already on the T-Mobile network.
Right.
When Verizon bought Track, a lot of the TracFone brands ran on other networks, AT&T or T-Mobile. Right. So their first job was to convert them onto Verizon.
Got it.
And they're still doing that. It's not all finished. T-Mobile doesn't have that issue. Right. They're already same with Mint. They're already running on T-Mobile, which could accelerate for now. You know, it's I don't want to put a number on it.
Well,
John, a wise man once said, "The one constant in this industry is change."
That's right. I think I said that.
I believe you did.
Okay. All right. What's your biggest concern? I know that they're still dissecting, and they probably will forever, the 2 mergers that one didn't work out. That was the Sprint Nextel merger. That was almost 20 years ago now. And then, but recently the T-Mobile acquisition of Sprint, and a lot of the things that the public and Congress
We going there, huh?
yeah, we're going to go there. A lot of things, although the players are all changed, so I think the statute is good. Hold on. So a lot of things that were promised and laid out in front of everyone, from employees, dealers,
Congress.
regulators, FCC. Not all, but some of them did not come to fruition. And you've written about it extensively. Other people have lobbied, put many hours in, saying that, and if I can remember, it was, we're going to create 100,000 jobs. And then, if you look at 2 years later, that the amount of employees is actually about 10 or 20,000 less than it was. We're not going to close any stores. Obviously, we saw what happened there. No one is going to lose their job. Well, we saw what happened there. So, look, T-Mobile, in their defense, in my opinion, has done a fantastic job starting out with their Un-carrier. And I know the people at T-Mobile very well. I do a lot of business with them. And but they've knocked Verizon and AT&T off their perch. And they are doing all the right things.
Well,
in my mind.
Okay, now I'm going to stop you.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. First of all, I'll agree with you. I know a lot of people at T-Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of very good people at T-Mobile. Mm-hmm. I've worked with many of them in the past. Mm-hmm. You have worked with many of them in the past. Their previous executive staff came up with the Un-carrier, did things differently. Mm-hmm. Last week, the current executive staff just raised their prices on legacy plans.
Yes, they did.
After running about a year worth of commercials that said, we're never going to raise prices.
Right. Now, T-Mobile is not here today to defend.
I'm stating facts.
Yes,
did they not raise their prices?
That was what was reported, yes.
Okay, did they not say they're not raising prices?
That was factual,
okay, so
yes.
I'm not knocking them. Yeah. I'm stating facts.
Okay.
T-Mobile went and closed the vast majority of independently owned T-Mobile stores.
Okay.
John Fryer, who is the president of retail, came out and said in a blog post, so this is written, you can, as they say, you can Google it, that they're going to shift their distribution strategy.
Okay.
T-Mobile is going to own T-Mobile stores.
Right.
Okay, which means if you're a dealer that owned T-Mobile stores, you no longer own those stores. Or you are in the process of no longer owning those stores.
Through purchasing or...
well, we'll let the class action lawsuit that's going on settle that.
Okay.
They do want dealers to own prepaid stores, Metro stores. In fact, T-Mobile sold or closed their corporate-owned Metro stores.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm a little concerned on two fronts. One, for the Ultra dealers, who are not exclusive dealers.
Right.
Ultra has been very vocal from day one that they want to be a part of your business. If you're a dealer, they don't want to be your business. They want to be a part of it.
Right.
Okay? And I've literally been in 47 states in this country. I have seen Ultra SIM cards in convenience stores and gas stations, as well as proper cell phone stores.
Right. Okay.
I'm a little concerned, we touched on it, for the US Cellular dealers. Because again, John Fryer has publicly stated that he doesn't want dealers owning postpaid stores. I don't know the number of US Cellular dealers off the top of my head. We have reached out to them. We've reached out to US Cellular. We've reached out to T-Mobile. Still waiting. Probably not going to hear a lot back because the deal's not done yet. Right. It's only up for approval. They've structured this deal, as you mentioned, so it's not, or at least it doesn't look like a complete takeover. US Cellular is keeping some spectrum. They're keeping some towers. They're not keeping any customers. They're not keeping any distribution, as far as I can tell. But based on what T-Mobile has said and done in the past, we have a concern over the US Cellular dealers.
Okay. Good.
We'll find out what happens.
Okay. Now, when this runs, you'll be out of the country.
I will be in London watching my beloved New York Mets.
Okay. So I would like to publicly invite Mr. Fryer, who I've met. I would like to invite Mr. Fryer or someone else from T-Mobile to come on the podcast and answer the observations and opinions that Adam has made. And
What's happening with the US Cellular dealers, John? Mr. Fryer, contact us. You have our number. We are very concerned at what's going to happen with the US Cellular dealers and the Ultra dealers. We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, there it is. All right, let's talk about something that, as part of NWIDA's advocacy, that you've been very, very involved in and have had some terrific results. And we touched a little bit on it last time, and that is right to repair.
Yep. As you mentioned, NWIDA is the only trade and advocacy association for the dealers. Right to repair the last week of May, so very, very recently, was signed into law into Colorado.
Good. So how many states is that now?
I think it's about 9.
9? Okay, good.
I might be off on that.
What's preventing the other states from lobbying, politics?
Sure. Politics always, lobbying. Obviously, a lot of the companies that are involved, the ones that are making the phones and the devices, don't want right to repair.
Right.
But they're seeing the current administration is very pro right to repair.
Okay.
And I think the states that are passing it are just trying to get ahead of a perhaps federal law.
Okay.
To be quite honest with you, we are now effectively in early June. I don't think anything's going to happen federally between now and the election.
Right.
But we'll see what happens after that.
And right to repair, for our listeners and viewers, it basically, previously to right to repair, the manufacturer is saying, do not open the phone, do not touch the phone, it voids your warranty.
And not only that, but they would not give access to the repair parts.
Right. Right.
Or the schematics. So there are a lot of very smart people who figured it out and did it on their own. But when you open a Samsung phone or an Apple phone or a Motorola phone or whoever, you would want to be able to offer your customer the choice of genuine parts.
Right.
Very similar if you go to your Honda dealer, your Chevrolet dealer, you want an oil filter.
Right.
Do you want the aftermarket or do you want a Honda oil filter?
Right.
Same deal. Right to repair, depending on how the law is written, but the general concept guarantees the independent repair guys the ability to get those genuine parts.
Okay. Good. I was going to mention the car industry. Like, if you take the same previous relationship between the phone manufacturer and the customer, you really had to go back to Apple or Samsung or Motorola or
you would have to go back to Honda to get your oil changed.
Right. And that would then totally cut out the independent car dealer, like this cut out the independent wireless dealer. So now you're making traction there.
Yeah.
But what happened? iFixit is a repair.
iFixit
and Samsung,
iFixit, Kyle and his gang over there, friends of NWIDA. We do a lot of work together.
Okay.
iFixit, if you don't know, provides repair parts
Right.
to repair shops. They also do their own repairs.
So you have the kiosks everywhere?
No.
Or is that somebody else?
That's somebody else.
Okay, all right.
But they do a lot of B2B repairs. They
Okay.
do their own, and they sell repair parts.
Got it.
And they sell schematics, which they've come up with a lot of times. They had an official agreement with Samsung where they were going to be able to get official Samsung schematics, say that 3 times fast, and repair parts and offer them out to the repair industry, repair shops. And iFixit terminated that partnership very recently.
iFixit terminated it?
iFixit terminated it.
You know why?
To be blunt, because that's usually how I talk, Samsung wasn't delivering on what they promised.
Okay. And that's your opinion.
That's their opinion.
Okay, fine. Very good.
They sent out a press release saying we're terminating our program with Samsung, and here's why. They go into a little bit more depth. You can go to NWIDA, NWIDA.org/news.
Okay.
We've picked up that story and republished it.
Interesting.
So you can just search Samsung. It's going to be one of the top 4 or 5 news stories, and you can read the details.
So
there.
when did right to repair start to really gain steam as an issue? Has it been 8 years, 10 years?
That's really a question for the folks at repair.org.
Yeah.
Because that's their whole mission.
Okay.
And not just right to repair in the wireless industry, but they're very involved in the farming industry. John Deere, the tractor maker, is notorious for not providing schematics and parts.
Okay.
There are other companies as well. So repair.org as an association does the wireless stuff, but they do outside stuff as well.
Okay.
We got involved with them when we formed, which was about 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago now.
Yeah.
So we've been doing it since day one.
Okay.
Since 7.5 years ago. They've been at it much longer. And Gay Gordon Byrne, who's the head of repair, might be a good podcast guest
I'll
for
have to
you.
reach out. Now this has mushroomed now into kind of right to repair. It's now you have trade shows. You recently attended the Gadget
Repair Expo.
Was when?
In April.
In April?
It's in April of every year.
Okay.
I can't tell you. It's not a consistent place. They like to move the show around.
Okay.
Last year was Vegas. They've done Atlanta. They've done Orlando. It's a really good show for the repair industry.
Okay.
Again, it's not only a wireless show.
Right.
It's game console repair. It's
consumer electronics.
any consumer game consoles,
appliances,
drones.
Drones. Okay. All right.
So it's a really good show for the repair industry.
Okay.
We've done 3 of the 4 shows that we've been at.
And at that show, do you have representative from the OEMs? Was Apple, Samsung, other?
They were not. They didn't have a booth presence.
But they were there.
They were there.
They were checking up on things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody from there, probably with a fake company name, was walking around. I didn't see Tim Cook, but there's somebody who's got his email address.
Okay, very good. There are some people say too many shows. I don't think there's. I think there's about the right amount of shows now that are out there. We had obviously CES, which is not a wireless show, but the pavilion at the Venetian Hotel for wireless.
We were there.
I spent a day.
I spent 3.
Oh, no, okay. But Gadget Repair, there's 2 shows coming up in this month, June. Mobile Disrupt is next week.
Yep.
That'll be in Las Vegas. That's previous guest on the podcast, Bob
Lafon,
has done a terrific job. Sold out. I think double or triple the amount of attendees he's had over the last couple of years.
And they're very specific as a electronics recycler and reuse.
Right. CPO phones, certified pre-owned.
Exactly. But what happens to that device when you go to the Apple store and you trade it in?
Yeah.
What happens from that point on?
Right.
What's available to independent dealers who want to take phones in as trade?
Right.
Okay. There are many systems out there that will evaluate that phone, give you a price that a company will buy that will take it and recycle that product, and then the dealer can mark that, make a little money on that, and say, "Oh, John, you're trading in that iPhone 12 for an iPhone 15. I can give you $75 for it, or $100 in store credit."
But more importantly is when you're buying 10,000 handsets or 30,000 handsets, you need to know the history of what that phone has gone through, like we talked earlier, like Carfax.
Hey, John, thanks for teeing that up for me. NWIDA has 2 benefits that help in that area. One is called IMEI reports, which is for the smaller quantity reports, but it is essentially a Carfax for any device with an IMEI, a watch, a tablet, a phone, whatever, and it will tell you, is the device locked? Is it what frequencies are in it? What carriers will it work on? It's a whole one-page full report. The other benefit we have is we work with a company called Phone Check.
Okay.
Phone Check does that, but they also do device grading.
Okay.
They are really more on the higher quantity level. If you're doing 5, 10, 15 devices, IMEI reports is your perfect solution.
Okay.
If you're doing 100, 1,000, then you want to look at Phone Check.
Okay.
NWIDA members will save $600 a year on their Phone Check fees, which, as you mentioned, we talked about the price of the NWIDA membership.
Right.
That one benefit more than pays for your membership.
Right. Okay.
Just that one. So there are companies out there, IMEI reports, that we own. Phone Check, and others that will grade the phones when they come in, that will tell you what you have, will help you if you want to recycle them, go through the whole process. And that's what those two companies, I guarantee, I don't know, but I'll bet heavily will be at Mobile Disrupt.
Right. Okay.
And that's their world, right?
Yeah, okay.
The recycling part. And like you said, Bob's done a great job with that.
Previous guest from Prologue Mobile.
Friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast.
Seth
Heine. Did a terrific job really opening up a lot of people's eyes a few months ago on not only the Carfax aspect, but you can have two iPhones in your hand, and this will work on one network, and this one won't work on the same network. People don't realize that if you buy a phone, you mentioned the frequencies and all. They have a couple patents they've been awarded, and they have network capability software. And I know they'll be there.
Let me tell you a quick story about why you need to run these reports.
All right.
I was speaking with somebody who's been in this industry a long time. Somehow we got talking about my phone, which is an iPhone 12 mini.
Okay.
And the reason I still have an iPhone 12 is because the last phone available in the United States with a physical SIM slot.
Right.
We mentioned I'm going to London.
Right.
When I get there, what I typically do, I've gone there before, is I take out my US SIM, I buy a prepaid SIM in London, and I don't have to pay the roaming rates.
Right.
This gentleman said to me, you can go get an iPhone 15. I know a store in New Jersey, I'll take you, that gets them from Canada. Because the U.S. is the only market that removed the SIM slot.
Oh.
If you go to Canada and buy an iPhone 15, there's a physical SIM slot in it.
Will it work on the U.S. network?
It will.
Okay.
Will it work on every band?
No,
I don't know.
Okay.
But my point is that I didn't even know. I mean, I knew people were buying phones from obviously all over the world.
Right.
But this gentleman was like, oh, I work with this guy all the time. I will take you. I'll introduce you to the guy who owns the store. He'll sell you an iPhone 15 from Canada.
Right.
So you need to know, especially if you're a store doing trade-ins, taking customers' phones, you need to know what you're getting before you go, well, it looks like an iPhone 15.
Right.
I'll give you $300 for it, but it's really not an iPhone 15, or it's locked, which devalues the device.
Got it.
So, you need to know what's going on.
All right. Back to our trade events. There'll be a show that we love.
The big one.
The big one. All Wireless and Prepaid Expo. Late August this year in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it looks like, I think it's about a week later than it typically is, the last week of August.
It wasn't hot enough last year.
Exactly.
Going to go another week. And that's a great show. I think I'm speaking at that one. I'm sure you're going to be.
I am speaking at that one.
Always fun. And then our good friends at MVNO Nation are having their third annual event in Valencia, Spain, which I will probably be at as well. I'm hoping to get there. And actually,
I heard you're taking me to that one.
We'll talk about that. And their founder, Eva Campbell, who's the co-founder of MVNO Nation. I had the pleasure to finally meet her over in Europe a couple months ago. And she will be a guest talking about their group and how they serve the thing. So there's a lot on our calendar.
There's a lot, you and I have both been doing this for a while. The wireless show was OACTIA.
Yes.
They have since sold that to Mobile World Congress, who's turned it more into an infrastructure show.
Yep.
So if you're looking to buy antennas and parts for your Switch, head over there.
All right.
And All Wireless has kind of taken the mantle of being, if you go to one wireless show in the U.S.,
that's it.
It's the All Wireless show. And it's, I know for a fact, because as you said, I'm speaking, so I'm already dealing with the people who produced that show. They have taken the larger ballroom this year at Caesars.
Yep.
So it's probably going to be their biggest show ever.
Good.
And they just sent out an email. They're 95% sold out already.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Great show.
I hope to see a lot of our listeners and viewers there. With that being said,
yes.
I'll ask again. I'm an independent dealer and or an MVNO.
Yes.
And I like what NWIDA's saying. I like what NWIDA's doing on behalf of the independent dealers and obviously the independent MVNOs. How do I join? How do I contact NWIDA? What do I do? Easiest
way to contact is the website, NWIDA, NWIDA.org/contact.
Showing up on the screen right now.
Showing up right somewhere over there. And if you'd like to join, I'm going to do something for you, John.
Go ahead.
And for your listeners, We will give you a 2-month trial membership for $1.
Whoa.
Use the code THEBOON, THEBOON. Just go to NWIDA.org/join today. You can see the membership. There'll be a button that says 2-month membership. Click it. When you enter it, it is a full membership. So you get all of the benefits immediately. And if you like what you are getting after 2 months, you can renew.
Okay.
And if you don't, it costs you $1.
It's 50 cents a month.
It's 50 cents a
Where
month.
can you get a deal like that? Okay.
Such
Adam,
a deal.
Adam Wolf.
Jon Horovitz.
It's a pleasure sometimes to have you back on the show. And
I look forward to for our next one in 3 more months.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if we get our friends to respond to answer some of the things.
I want to
you
be on
brought
that
up.
one.
Yes, I know you do. So okay. So Adam,
Jon.
I appreciate you coming in today. It's always good to see you. As this runs today, you're going to London to see the Mets play the Phillies. I wouldn't go see the Mets play in Queens, which is much closer.
The funny thing is, I'm actually going to see the Mets tomorrow.
Okay.
And then the week, literally 7 days later, again. And as they're in the midst of this horrible losing streak,
Yes.
and players throwing their gloves into the stands
And getting demoted.
and getting cut, and having player-only meetings,
Yes.
I'm going, what the hell am I doing?
Hey, look.
But you know what? I guess that's the definition of a diehard.
It is. And just look, football season's only 4 months away. So listen, Adam Wolf from NWIDA, thank you very much for coming back in. That'll wrap it up for another episode of the Boon of Wireless. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments, your support, and we will see you next time.